Let's take a brief look at the shock absorber's function. Shock absorbers are fitted with springs and suspension systems to control what would otherwise become the full transfer of any road impact. The absence of shock absorbers would cause the uncontrollable recoil of the spring, producing extensive vertical pitching, which would have a bad effect on the driving performance on the vehicle and the comfort of the occupants. Shock absorber takes up this excess action by transforming this motion into thermal energy. Here, let's test to see the difference between a normal shock absorber and worn-out shocks. With worn-out shocks, pitching action keeps on causing an unstable ride on the vehicle. With new shocks, you can clearly see that the new shocks are absorbing the bump, resulting in a stable ride. By pushing the bonnet with your hand, you can see the difference in the settlement of the pitching action. Once again, you could see the difference between a normal shock and worn-out shocks in their cornering performance. With worn-out shocks, a vehicle tends to roll excessively, resulting in strong understeer. With new shocks, the vehicle's rolling action has been minimized, resulting in a stable, moderate understeer characteristic. When cornering, worn-out shocks with weak damping force tend to roll excessively, causing unstable movement. Higher speeds may cause the vehicle to roll over or to spin out. On the other hand, new shocks allow stable cornering. From this test, you could see that the new shocks outperform the worn-out ones by a big margin. Like the other tests, there are big differences in braking performance between the new shocks and the worn-out shocks. The worn-out shocks give a vehicle excessive nosedive, which results brakes to lock at an earlier stage, causing the vehicle's braking distance to extend. Now let's summarize what you've seen so far. Worn-out shocks will cause: Number 1, excessive shaking on an unpaved road. Number 2, unstable ride at high speed. Number 3, excessive pitching action. Number 4, excessive nosedive and squat during acceleration and braking. Number 5, longer stopping distance. Number 6, tires bouncing on a bumpy road. Number 7, wear out on the tire shoulder. Number 8, bad fuel consumption. We are sure that you understand the importance of the shock absorber by now. Upon deterioration of the shock absorber, you will see the following symptoms. Number 1, When vehicles show an unstable behavior when driving, such as an excessive roll during cornering, pitching, bouncing, squat, nosedive, and so on. Number 2. When the bouncing continues when you push down on the bonnet. Number 3. When you hear strange or unfamiliar sounds from the shocks when driving. Number 4. When you find the external damage on the shocks, such as dents on the outer casing, bent shafts, oil leakage, damaged bushes and washers, etc. Number 5. When replacing your prematurely worn out tires. For your safety, don't forget to replace all the shocks at the same time. Upon removing and installing the shocks, please take care. Improper procedures could relate to serious accident or injury, or damage to the shock absorbers in the vehicle. Number 1. Never hold a shaft with pliers or in a vise, as this will damage the shock absorber, causing oil leakage. Number 2. Always use a new lock nut upon replacing new shocks. Number 3. When installing a brake hose, make sure you release air bubbles for all brakes. Number 4. Always use a torque wrench when tightening the lock nut. Please check the manufacturer's service manual for the torque required. With proper fitment and care, KYB shock absorbers will make a big difference to your car, resulting in safer driving and more comfortable conditions. Replace your shocks periodically, and once in a while take a look at them to check for possible damage. Now enjoy the pleasure of driving with KYB shock absorbers.